All right, so welcome back. So what we want to do is we want to show you a real example, right? So these bank account and baby things, they're cute. You can kind of learn about classes. But I mean, let's look at a real application of this stuff. So the problem with real applications is that if the task is simple, you do it the simple way, right? Like use global variables, use functions, and that's it. And it's not until the problem gets more complex that you start using objects. And so you can see that the challenge is to do a real application, we kind of have to be solving a complex problem. So what we're going to do is we're going to write parts of a complex problem. And the app that we have decided to make is Dice without friends. So we've looked at Dice with friends, which involved Google App Engine and communication with others. Here we're just focused on the JavaScript that kind of was necessary in writing that app, and we're going to do it single player. So that's why it's called Dice without friends. So let's start by looking at the solution. So you can go into your Eclipse static area, and you should have a Dice without friends. What we're going to be doing is we're going to be writing parts of this. So for example, if you were to open up, like play, you can see that there's a to-do in here. If you were to look at the main JS file, you can see there are to-dos there. Some of the other files are blank, right? So what I want you to start with, though, is I want you to go ahead and open up the solution. And what we're going to do is we're just going to look at the solution in Chrome. So you can say open with system editor. So you can open this up as well. You may as well play along. And so the idea is that it's the Dice with Friends game, except for there are no friends, right? So if you wanted to take your 300, you could stop there, or you could click on roll again. And you can see that instead of having an opponent over here, I just repurposed it to instead say the round number, right? So you can get really greedy if you want. Oh, excellent, I succeeded. Once you get them all, by the way, you get to roll again, which is really kind of fun. It's kind of enticing to keep going for it, but eventually you'll bust, right? So this is Dice without friends. It's also got things on here where you can click on new game, and it'll start the game over again. There's also another feature on here which is kind of hidden. You actually have to change the code to see this other feature. It tracks your best performance ever. You can either watch me do this or you can make the change as well. I don't care. But if you open up the Dice game controller in the solution file and change the score to win to say, I don't know, 500, it's got another feature that I wanted to show you just really quickly. So I'll refresh it here. And so now as soon as we get to 500, ooh, a large straight, go me, roll again. As soon as you get to 500, which I'm already past, and hit stop, it'll say, you finished in one round. That was because I changed the score from 10K down to just 500. And then when I say new game, it'll track the fastest finish that I've ever had. The way that's all that's done, just to kind of give you a spoiler, if you click on Inspect Element, and then once your Chrome DevTools up, if you go to Resources, Local Storage, File, you can see that's actually stored in a thing called local storage. And if you wanted to blow it away, you could hit the X there. And then if you reload the page, you can see it's gone. But in order to make Dice without friends more fun, I wanted to track what your best performance was, just so you have some reason to play it instead of none at all. And then we'll add a little bit about local storage in this assignment. All right, so that's kind of the finished solution. Let's talk a little bit about how it works. So if you wanted to, you could actually go ahead and open these files as I kind of talk through them. But you can see that there's a bunch of JavaScript files, right? So I've just kind of made in slide format, what are some of the things in these individual JavaScript files? So here's the slide I've made that kind of talks about how this works. So the HTML and CSS, they're pretty obvious. The JavaScript consists of one main file, which I've called DWF, which stands for Dice without friends in this case, play main. So this is kind of like the main that we've been using with Bank Recorder and the baby. And then there are a whole bunch of classes. There are 4 classes in this implementation. 2 of them are for implementing the model. So the model is just instead of just a single variable like we've used before, it's what is the state of the game, what are the state of the individual dice, and then what's the state of the round. So there's a dice round, which is a model object. And then there are 2 controllers. One controller which controls the round, so it updates the views on the buttons, and then another controller which actually does the total game score and what round you're in, and it also does that fastest finish feature. If you dive into these functions, these files, you can see what functions these things have. So if we were to go open up the die folder, you'd see things like this. It has instance variables, such as where the location of this dice is, like whether it's in position 1 through 6. Its state, so it might be active or inactive. It might be on the table or off the table. And then what its value is, like whether it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6 as its value. It's also got a little helper in here. You can see that it also times some constants. So constants are another thing that you can put into classes that other people can use as well. And then it's got a whopping single function in this. So it's got a function for roll, which will randomly let it get a new value, and it'll put it back on the table if it was still active. So that's kind of what that one does. It's very much about the model. It has no knowledge of view at all, right? So it keeps track of variables so that it knows what it's doing. Let's kind of quickly glance at the next model class just so you can kind of see the breakdown of these things. This next model class is for the round. So this round, the most important thing is it's an array of individual die, right? So it has an array of dice. So it's got an array of all 6 of the dice that are used in the game. And that's it's got some other helper instance variables, but I didn't mention at this level. It's got functions to, like, you can tell the model, hey, I pressed a button at this location. Things like, press button at location. These are great functions for model objects. You can also tell it to do things like roll, right? So this is the high level roll. It obviously calls roll on all the individual die. And then, I should have said dice there. And then it's also got a score, so get the round score. And then it's got various helpers, like is the round over, have they removed a die, and then if you wanted to actually get at the instance variables, I've made some getters. You can pick the pocket in JavaScript, but if you wanted to use the getters, I've got some getters for you as well. So this is very much the model, and it keeps track of the round. So a round is like, if you roll them all and you move up 1, and then you say roll again, you move up another one, that's all still part of the round, but as soon as you hit stop, that's where the round finishes. So this is the model object for a round. By contrast, if we look at some of the other things, so we've got a controller here. So this is our round controller. So he only cares about the round, but he cares about updating all the views in the round, right? So you can see that his variables are very different. His variables that he keeps track of are links to the various views on the screen. This $sign notation, by the way, this is optional. It's kind of like how, underscore means it's a private variable, but it's not really binding. It just means that if a variable starts with a $sign, it means it's a jQuery object. So it's just a good way to denote whether something is a jQuery object or not. It's an optional naming convention. So then functions that it's got in here, it's got an enable buttons, which you would kind of expect for a controller. And then it's got various updates. So it's got update score, update the button action states, update a die, which then uses a helper for update the classes. And then it's got update all at the top. So if you call update all, it just updates the screen. So it's really very similar to some things we've written before in that it's got an update view here called update all, and it's got an enable buttons. So you could do things like this without classes, but to be honest, classes are pretty easy to use, and once you're kind of in class mode, I kind of do everything with classes. So that's the round controller. Last controller we've got is a game controller. This one I've cheated a little bit. I've put some model things in here. So technically what round we're on and the score, those are model things, but I put them in here. And it's got a single function on it that says handle round complete. So when a round is complete, it updates the score, it updates the round, and it also looks to see if the game is over. This is also the function that'll do that fastest finish feature. All right, I'm fully aware that talking about it isn't much fun, but there's one more. So there's also main, which starts the ball rolling, right? So it creates the namespace, it creates an instance of the object, and then it also handles the new game press, which comically just reloads the page, which is kind of funny. All right, that's an overview of kind of what you've got. We'll come back next time and we'll start actually writing some code in this. So I'll see you next time. All right, bye.